And now, more with Social Women with your hosts, Pat Cruz, Amy Diaz, and Bronwyn Dannenfelser.
We're here with our second guest, Dr. Ritu Goel. Did I say it right? There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. No, we are going to be talking a little bit about, we just brought her in and we were talking about fashion, which happens to be one of her favorite things to do, shopping. But we're kind of jumping ship right now and going to be talking about staying healthy. And we want to talk about the pot thingy. the pot thing.
Well, staying healthy and fashion go hand in hand, because if you're not healthy, you can't possibly go shopping and enjoy it.
I could.
Come on.
Wait, stop.
Anytime.
The what thingy?
not compassion centers where the neti pot
I have
thingy.
a guest for that one. Anyway, so first, welcome. We're
Thank
so
you.
glad to have you with us.
It's a pleasure being here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your great facility that I was just at a couple of weeks ago?
Okay, well, I'm an otolaryngologist here in Rhode Island.
What?
It's so funny because yesterday Pat was like,
trying-
can we get her title? And I was like, OTR. And I was like, I spelled out the entire alphabet. One more time?
Actually, Amy, the whole word is otorhinolaryngologist.
Yes.
Head and neck surgeon would be the whole.
Wow.
Oh, that's a 9-syllable
How
word.
long did you have to go to school to remove that
33
word?
years, and I finally got it right.
My brain almost blew up.
But, we'll just simplify it and say ear, nose, and throat. So ENT is the simplified way to do it. And it's great being in Rhode Island. I'm originally a New Yorker, so it's been a hard transition. But I think 12 years later, I can actually say I'm enjoying being a Rhode Islander, because as my kids
nice.
remind me that they're Rhode Islanders and they're not New Yorkers. So.
Well, Red Sox fans.
But once a New Yorker,
yes.
you just
Go Red Sox.
you just never lose that New York City feeling, do you?
No.
I'm only a New York visitor, and I can't get it out of my system either. Anyway, so yes, the practice ENT.
So, one of the great things that we have here in New England, of course, is a great pollen season, which is coming in a few weeks. And actually, it's almost here, because this year we didn't really have a very cold winter. So, all the ragweed and pollen and the cold never really hit. So a lot of allergy sufferers haven't done really well this year, so they really need to prepare ahead of time. Like normally you would prepare end of March, April for pollen season. My feeling is start earlier than later, and I think we had brought up the neti pot, and I think that's a wonderful thing to start with. And the neti pot is basically a saline rinse, so you're keeping the nasal airways nice and clean and flowing of all the pollen, the viruses, germs, and you're keeping everything free and clear of inflammation. So the swelling. So if nothing is swollen in the nasal cavity, well, guess what? You're not going to get infected. And you're not going to get congested. And if you're not congested, you're not going to get that awful postnasal drainage that people do not like to talk about. Well, we all have it in the morning, all that phlegm and gooey stuff that you kind of cough up, and you're like, I wonder if that's just me.
It's not, right?
It's not. It's not.
That's great.
So this is a good thing, neti pot. My daughter has horrible allergies, something that I need to get. Does it seem like it's going to be it's going to
be a bad season.
Bad season, huh?
Yeah, getting started on something as simple as the neti pot is great. Why? Because one, it's non-medicated, so everyone can use it, and you don't have to worry about, is it going to interact with any medications that we're on, or is it going to cause nosebleeds and things? Because one of the other great adjuncts that we can have is a steroidal nasal spray, and there's so many of them out there nowadays. You might have heard of them, Nasonex, fluticasone, which is the generic for Flonase, and so on. The steroid nasal sprays are a great thing to use too, but they do cause a lot of nosebleeds.
Oh. So the neti pot is something, again, that's natural. It kind of does freak me out, I have to be honest with you, because it's like a teapot that you're putting up one side of your nose and it's coming out the other. And it reminds me of, when you'd go in the swimming pool and you get like water up your nose when you were a kid. Did that ever happen to you?
Yes.
But that's what it reminds me of. So you got to get over the psychological kind
A
of.
lot of people aren't very nasally oriented because they just don't like to have anything in their nose. So for someone like yourself, maybe you could start off with something even simpler, just saline nasal spray.
Oh.
and just
right,
kind of
okay.
get some moisture in there.
And ease your way into it.
That's right, and ease your way into it rather than going full blown into the big
neti
kettle
pot.
up your nostril.
So, everybody's gotten sick this year. I mean, I got sick, you got sick, everybody in my office.
I've been sick
Yes.
this whole past week.
Yeah, is there been
It's all
something
about
going
sharing.
around?
Yeah.
And that's what happens with germs. We end up sharing them because most of the germs that we share are airborne. So we're breathing them in. So they're in the air, and unfortunately, we can't get away from them. So,
No, this was a clear cut. I was holding my son.
Oh.
He looked at me and he went,
okay.
right in my face. And I was like, thank you so much. And you just know the next week is going to be just a fun ride.
So at that point, you should have done the neti pot ASAP.
My wife mentioned that, the neti pot, and I know it scares me a little bit. Not scares me, but it's just like, it's weird because I'm like that. I don't want like to stick anything up my nose and have that feeling of getting the water up the nose and everything. It seems weird.
We can conquer this fear together.
Okay.
All right.
One of our Ustream viewers wants to know, where can you buy such a thing?
CVS, Walgreens, anywhere. It's available, wherever any sort of medications are. Even, and I don't know if Super Stop and Shop and, grocery stores have it, but it's pretty accessible.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's neti pot.
Right.
I'm
or
looking
also
at
just
the poster.
or
Chris,
saline rinse.
there's a first part to that statement. It's neti pot.
right.
So, what have you seen mostly kind of walking in the door, like over the last couple of months? Is the allergies coming up early because
It's
Mother
actually
Nature?
allergies, and it's also a lot of sinus infections.
Yeah.
Because people don't start treating the allergies earlier on, or they let the congestion kind of go on for days that turns into weeks because they feel that, oh, we're getting better. Oh, no, we're not getting better. So, you kind of don't want to go to the doctors because who does?
Yeah. What do you take for that? So if you feel something coming on, what do you?
I think one of the great things that you can take is, and now it's available over the counter, is an antihistamine.
Okay.
And there's so many of them. Claritin, loratadine, fexofenadine, which is a generic, Zyrtec, or cetrazine, which is the generic for that.
Now, what about cases where, because I suffer from this big time, I can only get certain, like earlier in the show, I smelled the Dolce & Gabbana, but it's going to hit me dead on.
Yes.
It seems like I don't have a sense of smell at all. Like my wife will come into the house and be like, oh my God, didn't you change the trash? I'm like, I can't smell it. I just cannot...
So you would be that person that's been congested for so long
Yeah,
that
since I was 11.
so your olfactory nerve, which is responsible for your sense of smell, is kind of shot at this point because it's so swollen.
Can I get that back, or is it just gone?
You might be able to get that back. So those nerve fibers, because there's so much swelling around them, they can't pick up that sense of smell. So if we were to use the saline nasal spray and a Flonase, a steroid nasal spray, you would decrease that inflammation and swelling, and actually maybe you'd open up and you'd be able to smell some roses sometimes.
I'd like
smell
to.
the flowers.
I'd like to. I've read about roses. I've never smelled one.
I think we can fix that.
That was an awe moment.
We're going to fix that for you.
If I
Can
got
you
you.
smell-
What?
We have food coming. Will you
That
be
I'll
able
smell.
to smell?
I can smell it. The door is closed right now. I can tell you exactly where he is right now.
So it's basically selective sense of smell.
Yes.
So, best things to do now for
Staying healthy.
staying healthy and for allergy sufferers.
For allergy sufferers, again, keeping that.
Start now.
Yeah,
with that.
start now. Get the moisture up there. Get the saline nasal spray, the neti pots in there. Taking your antihistamines when you start to notice that you're getting congested, the itchy eyes, the watery eyes, all those are signs and indicators that, I'm going to get something. And even itchy ears, which no one really thinks about, because a lot of people get itchy ears, and they go, well, we don't have allergies, but we always want to scratch our ears and stuff. Yeah, that's a huge sign for allergies.
But people develop allergies. I would love
I
to
was
learn
just
more
gonna ask.
about that
Yes,
because
yes.
I've never had any.
Neither have I,
But-
knock on wood.
Exactly. But I'm afraid that I would love you to talk about how do you know when you're developing allergies?
Well, what happens is with allergies, a lot of people say, oh, we've never had allergies. It's not that. It's part of your immune system. So your immune system throughout one's life is usually healthy. But then as we go on and we get older, unfortunately, like most things, it doesn't get better, our immune system. It actually starts to weaken. And with stresses in life, and also our eating habits, which, people forget that staying healthy has
I'm
to do
getting
with
3 X's on this one right now.
it's a lot what you take in. And, your diet is huge, and people just don't understand that. They just want to take a pill and be healthy. Well, it doesn't work that way. Exercising, eating right, getting enough sleep, which is, I don't have the numbers for you guys today, but I'll tell you, sleep deprivation and the lack of it now is huge because people are always connected in some way or sort, the iPhones, computers, gadgets.
Oh, yes.
So you're never truly in your REM sleep, and you really need that because you're always, ready to go, and that doesn't help keeping a healthy immune system. And multivitamins and all that, I know a lot of people kind of poo-poo that, but again, that's part of staying healthy.
We just got a lot of great tips on the break. So fill us in a little bit more on bacterial, what we were just talking about too, the nose strips.
The Breathe Right strips?
The Breathe Right strips. Okay, there we go.
The Breathe Right strips are great for adults, because as we age, unfortunately, I hate to bring that up again, things start to collapse and they start to kind of cave in and fall in. So when you inhale, when you're inspiring through the nasal cavity, everything collapses. So does the cartilage of your nose. So those Breathe Right strips, basically you're putting them on the outside of your nasal cavity, keeping the cartilage expanded and open. So as you breathe in, everything isn't collapsing and it gives you a better nasal airway.
That's very interesting, and I've never used them.
Well, do you notice? I mean, does someone say that you're snoring or you're not having a?
No, my kids wanted to get them for when they were sick. So.
Well, I think, you can use them in kids, but for kids, if they're congested and stuff, the blue bulb syringe, getting some saline in there, getting a blue bulb, and getting all those secretions out is wonderful.
They're older. They're not going to.
Oh, they're okay.
Yeah, no.
It's not happening.
No, they're older, too old for that. So what can we use? And what about a dehumidifier and humidifier?
A humidifier is great because you actually want the moisture in there. Cool mist humidifiers are wonderful because that cold air, the cooling part of it is great. Sometimes I tell a lot of my patients to go for a walk, especially during the winter months, because it's nice and cool outside and you don't have all the allergens and stuff. And just going for that nice brisk walk and breathing in that cold air is just so beneficial for you.
By the way, what made you get into the ET? Ear, nose,
ENT, ear, nose, and
yeah. I would think wow, this is pretty disgusting. But you jumped right into it and said,
everyone has their secretions, and mine just happened to be the nasal salivary secretions. So what can I say? Actually, my dad's a general surgeon. So growing up, being the eldest in the family, I wanted to be just like Papa.
Okay.
So I was always going into surgery. But then I actually did general surgery, and I didn't really like the colon and its secretions. So I prefer the nasal. I prefer the nasal secretion and saliva any day.
Well, your nose, your olfactory senses are just so crucial too. We were talking about this on an emotional level too, because it is your sense of smell. They say, I believe, if you smell something, that it can bring you back to an emotional state faster than anything else. Isn't that true?
Definitely. I mean, that olfactory nerve, which is the nerve that's responsible for our sense of smell in the nose, it's one of the most fascinating things that, so much has been done over hundreds of years of studies and everything have shown that it's such a complex sense, and it's so critical to all of us because it reminds us of our memories, of our childhood, of whatever our parents might be cooking in the home, and it brings us back to that feel-good sensation, and sometimes we just need that meal that, brings us back.
Well, that being so important, though, because when Larry, you say that you were having a hard time smelling things, or
certain things, like my wife cooked some chicken soup over the weekend, and it smelled like my grandmother's house because she used a lot of carrots and everything, and just had that feeling of a grandmother-y, motherly type area. Or like stuff that I like, I'll be able to smell.
I already said you have selective sense of smell. We've covered
Can't smell laundry, dishes, any of that.
And the garbage.
It's all out the window. All out the window.
Talk to us a little bit about antibacterial, Purell, and we were talking a little bit about that over the break, and I'm yeah.
Yeah, the hand sanitizers like
Yes.
Purell, I think, are great. But as I've said kind of before, is that as soon as you touch something, you've been contaminated. So as soon as you Purell your hands, you touch a doorknob, you touch something, boom, you're back to the basics. Or especially if you're sneezing or coughing, people have a tendency to do that in their hands. You really don't want to do that because now your hands are contaminated, and no one's rushing to wash them or Purell them at that point. And there's the Nosen, which is the nasal sanitizer, which is a favorite product of mine that I use when I travel with the kids, and that is wonderful. And you put
I've been
that
hearing about this product, and I want to check it out too.
and you put that in your nose, right in the nasal ala, which is the anterior part of your nose, and it's just a quick swab. It has a great scent to it, and it lasts 8 hours. So unlike the hand sanitizers and stuff, this just lasts so much longer, and it keeps that whole area, the nasal airflow, going, and the passageways clear.
And so no sinus infections, and it helps guard
Definitely
against
preventing.
those.
That's right.
All right.
Preventing the germs from entering and seeding into your lining of your nose.
And what is that called one more time?
Nosen, the
right,
nasal
Nosen.
sanitizer.
Nosen, great. Well, if our listeners and viewers want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
The office is called Rhode Island Ear, Nose, and Throat, Rhode Island ENT, and our offices are located in Pawtucket, Johnston, Cumberland. So
She's all over.
Everywhere.
we're all over.
I'm going to ask quickly, which
She's
do you
all
prefer,
over.
the hand sneeze or the vampire sneeze? Which one do you recommend?
I don't recommend any sneezes except right. If you don't have to sneeze, don't.
Thank you so very much for joining us
It
today.
was my pleasure being
it's
here,
been a blast.
and
Yeah, so
I'm
much
wishing
more.
everyone a happy and healthy spring.